All right, I think we can get started. This is a small group today, so we're going to go through everything because it is going to be recorded for anyone else who wants to join in the future. Um, but Michael, I'll let you know when you want to switch slides, and I think we have Zachy on to talk through the compliance stuff. So Candace, um, I think you might be our only participant live, and anyone else watching this can make sure they get all the information. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to hop off mute or you can drop them in the chat.
Okay, thank
Just,
you.
yep. And I also, just so you know, any questions that we receive via email, we will answer those and post them to the website in the same place the RFP is. So whether they're Q&A from today or any other time, we will make sure that those get posted. So um, we will take care of that and then post it, and I will let you know so you have access to that and any other applicants. All right. Thank you again for joining this morning. My name is Steph O'Connor, and I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Homeownership and Neighborhood Preservation Division, which oversees the Flood Assistance Repair Program. On behalf of DOH, the Commissioner, Managing Deputy Tamara Collins, Commissioner Chris Smith, who isn't here this morning, I wanted to thank you for attending and for the interest in partnering with us on this program. The purpose of our presentation today is to provide an overview of the Flood Assistance Repair Program, review the RFP, its expectations, answer any general questions, and help ensure that anyone interested has a clear understanding of the scope and the submission requirements. So we're going to go over all of those pieces, the eligible activities, anticipated scope of work, application, proposal submission requirements, insurance, licensing, compliance, procurement timeline, and questions regarding this process. Just a few important points to note. This meeting is informational and intended to promote transparency and fairness in the procurement process. Any answers provided today that impact the RFP requirements, if there are any, will be issued formally on our website and with notification to anyone. All applicants who are interested need to make sure that you're checking all the RFP requirements in addition to what we covered today and complying with all the requirements and deadlines. And late or incomplete submissions may not be considered. So we strongly encourage anyone to apply who with contractors or administrators with experience in rehab, flood remediation, construction management, program administration, and encourage any partnerships if that's something you want to do to fill out your application. We are open to receiving those applications. Our priority is to ensure that our residents have high quality assistance through getting their repairs taken care of as soon as possible. We know that this was a major impact a number of years ago and want to be sure that this program responds appropriately in providing those quality repairs. So we're going to start the presentation now, but like I mentioned to anyone just hopping on, feel free to drop in the chat any questions. You can email me directly, or if you have any other requests throughout, just hop off mute. That's fine. Okay, we can go to, yep, the next slide even. So this program grew out of some really severe storms that happened in 2023 and 2024. There's three different instances of a FEMA emergency and caused significant infrastructure damage. Certain storms that were a once in every 500-year storm that had record-setting rainfall and caused flooding significantly on the city's west side. Can you go to the next slide? You can see the map here where the most calls and from R311 and the storms that experienced basement backups in particular. So the West Side wards have a much smaller percent of the city's population, but made up more than 50% of the 311 basement flooding calls during those storms. These houses are typically older than the city median, and many of the sewer lines are in need of replacement in those areas. Next slide. So after these storms, the city applied and received CDBGRDR, which means Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds. There was additional funds provided to the city from the federal government to take care of many of the infrastructure items that are related to and made these storms more severe on the west side. Next slide. This is the city's final plan and breakdown. So you'll see that there's a draft action plan with provided feedback from the community that did change the final action plan that was actually agreed to. So the $40 million that we're going to talk about today is highlighted here in red, bracketed, and these are local funds. So this is not actually the CDBG DR, but these are local funds that the city decided to add to that funding to make sure that that repair and other information and other things that needed to be taken care of could be. So as you see, the infrastructure mitigation portion is the highest amount of money, but we're going to talk today about the 40 million in local funds. Next slide. So now I'm going to walk you guys through this program, the goals, and the RFP. These are all laid out by section in the RFP. And there's an RFP reference on these slides where you can actually look at the full text. We'll be looking at it from an overview perspective, but if there's any detailed questions that you have or clarification you need, you can go to the RFP first using the references below, or you can reach out and we can clarify further. So like I've mentioned, our goal for this program is to provide low and moderate income homeowners in 1 to 2 residential buildings with direct home improvement benefits, flood remediation and repair of all that flood related damage. We also want to, as with all of our home repair programs, deepen the bench of local contractors with the skills and experience to do these remediation repairs. We know that this funding needs to go a long way, and it's many homeowners, and we know that there might be contractors who want to take advantage of participating in those repairs. Next slide. So from a very overview perspective, the grantees or program administrators that we're seeking through this RFP are expected to do the following tasks. They are expected to recruit and select subgrantees or homeowners. They're expected to qualify those subgrantees through income verification. They're expected to scope the repair and coordinate and implement those repairs. And they're expected to support those subgrantees as they do that repair, making sure that they're facing as little disruption as possible during the repairs. And if there are opportunities, we ask that layering funding where possible. That may not be something, but there are homeowners who are receiving FEMA or other programs. And if there's an opportunity to layer, that will be the responsibility of the grantee. So eligible grantees include nonprofit or for-profit entities, and we will go through a little bit later the subcontractor requirements for all of the compliance items that are required. So we have a full slide on that, and we'll dig into that a little bit more with our compliance team. Next slide. So the participation of subgrantees or homeowners, they're called subgrantees because they are the ones underneath the grantee receiving services. But this is a key part of the grantee or the program administrator's requirements. We expect that they are both doing outreach, making sure that homeowners know about this program and get them into the program. So eligible building types for these subgrantees include 1 to 2 unit residential buildings, and that homes should be in compliance with the Chicago Building Code, free of any major structural or life safety concerns. There are some income eligibility requirements in that the applicant of the household must be 100% of the area median income, or AMI, or below that to qualify. And if the basement is being used as a rental unit, it must have DOB sign off as a legal rental unit before it can be approved for program service. This program will initially be limited to the west side of Chicago that were most significantly damaged by the 2023 and 2024 floods, but it may be expanded to areas identified by DOH as the needs arise, and if there are other opportunities that the flooding is severe. So the flood repair services, oh, that's a typo. That should say flood, not floor. Every home will receive the following 2 items. So a backflow preventer and a sump pump, unless they already have those items. But we do want to make sure they're in good working condition. And then after that, every home repair is going to be unique and will have some combination of the things listed below, depending on the damage caused by the flood. Walls, doors, flooring, asbestos, lead remediation, mold remediation. We expect that any applicants for this program have expertise in flood remediation, including all the elements listed above, or have a pool of contractors, construction subcontractors that can perform this work with their experience. We can have either of those 2 things, but we do expect that there is that element there. As they are going through these repairs, We expect that the grantee ensures that all of these comply with the City of Chicago building codes and any other standards that are. We expect that they have the capacity to do this for a minimum of 25 owner-occupied homeowners and expect that all work done is code compliant and getting all the applicable permits and submitting accurate invoice through either our ECM management system, enterprise case management, or a different city of selected platform in a timely manner. We also expect that they submit all staff credentials like licenses, job description, and anything as part of their program plan, staffing, and supervision. As I mentioned before, it's important to us that the homeowners who receive these repairs, or subgrantees as they're called in the RFP, have a positive experience throughout the repair process. This can be a really challenging repair and can be require a lot of work with our homeowners to make sure that they're prepared for what that repair will be, what they will need to do, if there's anything they need to move out of those spaces. Want to have minimize any displacement of tenants or homeowners, discomfort, or any inconvenience during that repair work. We expect that the grantees have regular communications with the subgrantees to manage expectations throughout that time and have appropriate coordination with like any subcontractors or contractors to provide the actual repairs and physical interventions in a timely manner. We expect that the construction site is kept clean and limit exposure to the rest of the home being serviced, particularly when we're talking about things like mold remediation or anything else that we want to ensure isn't getting throughout the home. I am going to turn it over now to Zakaria McKee, who's going to talk through some of the compliance and monitoring aspects of this work that the grantee will be required to do.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. You can hear me all right, right? Okay. Perfect. So I'll cover, this is just very high level of MB, WBE, Illinois prevailing wage and Chicago residency requirements. Just a disclaimer that if you are selected, we will do a separate meeting with you, my team, to cover these obligations in more detail. So, as part of the city's commitment to expanding the ecosystem of local contractors with skills and experience, while also enhancing pathways for emerging workers and business owners, grantees will be evaluated on their experience with and plans for providing workforce development, training, and equitable subcontracting. So, the grantee will be required to meet the MBE and WBE ordinance requirements. So those are covered under a few municipal codes. However, the goals established by Municipal Code 2-92-690 are 26% minority business enterprise and 6% women business enterprise. So essentially, 26% of the hard cost of construction will have to go towards minority business enterprises, and 6% will have to go towards women business enterprises. As far as certifications, we only accept MBE and we only accept City of Chicago and Cook County. And if you have a MBE and WBE supplier, we only give 60% credit for suppliers. Candace, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. If the grantee themselves is a WMBE, does that count towards the compliance requirements?
If they're self-performing, and they're certified through City, Chicago, or Cook County, then the work they self-perform can count towards the MBE and WBE requirements.
Okay, thank you.
But you would have to select one. You wouldn't be able to double dip, for lack of a better term. So you'd have to
Sure.
either select MBE or WB.
Okay.
Right. And then next is the Illinois prevailing wage requirement. So the grantee will ensure that all construction, all workers working on these projects are paid the prevailing wage, the Illinois prevailing wage. That it is subject to change. They post new updates of new classifications with pay up updates kind of sporadically. So it will be your responsibility to make sure that you're paying the Illinois prevailing wage at the time that it is the work is being performed. So just making sure you're keeping up with the Illinois Department of Labor and their updates with the Illinois prevailing wage. And then lastly is the Chicago residency requirements. So the grantee will have to comply with this municipal code 2-92-330. So that is 50% of labor hours will have to be towards City of Chicago residents. If not, there is a penalty for non-compliance.
Thanks, Zachy. So the expected contracting framework um, is is as such. We may select more than one grantee to administer this program. And then the homeowners below are the subgrantees who do receive a grant of services, so that repair. Homeowners themselves are not receiving funds or a grant. The money flows directly from the Department of Housing to one of the grantees who applies for this program, and then those grantees, via their own self-performance or via subcontractors, um, provide repairs to homeowners. We may select multiple, depending on applications and uh, completely up to the department's discretion. So we anticipate a 2-year contracting window starting January 1st, 2027 through December 31st, 2028, with the opportunity for a 1-year extension. However, that is still up to the discretion of the department. Other contracting terms may be selected. So funding, compensation, and the budget proposal. These are important to understand because this contract is a bit different than others that you may have seen if you've applied to a Chicago Recovery Plan or HED or Housing and Economic Development Bond Proceed program here from the Department of Housing in the past. So there are 2 different funding sources that encompass this application. So there is some money provided in Chicago Recovery Plan bond proceeds and some corporate funds as well. These are identified in the contract, and we expect that each grant agreement will contain provisions for a 2-part fee structure. So for both parts, grantees need to detail their administrative budget using the budget template in Exhibit C. And we expect that each flood repair will cost at maximum $25,000 per home, aiming to maximize the number of homeowners depending on the need. So for part 1 in the fee structure, using the corporate funds, grantees may propose a budget of up to 7% for the administration of the program. There's a detailed Exhibit C that contains the documentation that you'll need to fill out for your administrative portion. If there's any questions on that, please let us know. But this is, Candace, I see your hand. Let me just finish these last 2 and then we'll talk through that. And then for the construction work, using the Chicago Recovery Plan bond proceeds, grantees will use a project delivery fee-based compensation. So grantees may bill the city for the pre-approved direct cost of a repair and a fixed negotiated delivery fee per project. So each delivery fee in that construction portion is only payable when the capital deliverables or the repair are completed. Candace, you had a question.
Yeah, sorry, and I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to jump in.
Oh, no, please do. Yep.
No, just on the Exhibit C, and I could have been looking at the wrong RF. The RFP I downloaded, the Exhibit C was blank. I didn't see a link to a budget template, so I went on the website, and the
Okay.
template I found had like heat pump information. So I was wondering if that was
Let
applicable to a
me
different program.
No, let's make sure that this is, I will check right now the RFP website and make sure that that Exhibit C is the correct
Okay.
link. If not, we'll make sure it's up there.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Michael, if we can just chat after this to make sure that we get the right Exhibit C. It's an Excel document that should accompany this, and that should be a part of it because it's okay. We'll make sure it gets up there, Candace, so that if you have any questions about it, you'll download that and actually fill out this Excel template, and it should hopefully answer any questions there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make sure that gets up shortly.
Okay, lovely. So we'll have it up by end of day. Thanks, Candace, for flagging that. All right, we can go to the next slide. So the timeline, it was released last week, Friday. We are doing the pre-bid conference today. We will make sure that the recording and attendance roster is posted by this Friday. We will post additional answers as we receive them. As I know you've emailed me some. I will try to get those done by this Friday, but we will post them by the end of next week at the latest. Proposals are due at 11:59 p.m. on June 26th. We hope to have the finalists selected by August 7th. Though that timeline isn't a target date, hopefully we are able to meet that timeline, but depending on the applications and amount of review needed, that may take a little bit longer. Again, we anticipate that the contract will execute and the program will launch early next year, January 1st, 2027, and the initial contract expiration date that we anticipate, as noted in the RFP, is December 31st, 2028. We can do the next slide. So the review criteria. There are a lot of questions in here, each being categorized in one of these areas. So proposals for providers or grantees, they're used throughout both of those terms, will be scored based on the following criteria, with 100 points being the maximum score. Organizational capacity, program implementation design, organization values, sub-grantee experience, and budget justification and capacity. We may also take into consideration other factors, including past performance on any city or DOH contracts, a track record on those contracts of effective program management, and alignment with DOH's mission, vision, and values. If you are out of compliance or on any other city contract, that may be considered. So the components of a successful RFP response are important. This is a long document with a lot of questions, and we want to be sure that all the RFP responses we receive contain everything. So it should include everything here. A cover page, details in Exhibit A. That's a lot of organization details on your organization if you're applying as a joint venture with any other organizations, any programmatic makeup for you and your entity. Attachments. These are in Section 2 of Exhibit A. The answers to all of the questions in Section 3. You should be numbering them as they appear in the RFP, and there is a table described in Exhibit B about the anticipated scope of completions by date and by quarter. We expect that to be provided there. And then, like I mentioned, Exhibit C is a budget template that we will make sure is uploaded by the end of today. If any questions are on those things, but those are all expected to be included as part of that submission. Presume in your response a 2-year contracting window. So if you are more interested in a different contracting window, please note that, or an amount that is appropriate for your application. The actual contract terms may differ, and all of these should be emailed to me, Steph O'Connor at cityofchicago.org. With or without the apostrophe, they will both make it to me, but sometimes the apostrophe causes issues for folks. So if I would encourage you to not send it at 11:58 p.m. on June 26, 2026, though you can, just to ensure that anything that you have issues or that is not, doesn't go through is received in time for the deadline. So we cannot accept late applications, so please be sure that you complete everything by that deadline date. That is the end of our formal presentation, but I will open the floor again to anyone who has questions about those things or anything in the RFP that I can answer. Exhibit C is already added to the website. So lovely. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. All right. I don't see any questions here. Again, you can email me any questions that you have in addition. We will make sure that those get answered and posted to the website. If we receive them, we will keep updating that question and answer sheet so that anything new gets added. So feel free to check on our same place that the RFP is. That's where we will put this presentation, the recording, the list of attendees. If you don't want to be listed as an attendee, just let me know. But this is a recorded presentation. And anything else that we receive as questions will be posted there as well. Again, thank you for your interest and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Candace. Thanks, Princess.